Hey everyone, I hope you had a great day. In this video we are looking at some new r/malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. The first story is called You Didn't Ask Me To. About 15 years ago I started a new job. I'm on the side getting hands-on training and the tech I was assigned to was a real jerk. Being that we were working with high voltage, I was asking questions to make sure I didn't screw things up when I was on my own. It wasn't like I was asking 20 questions a minute, but just general things I thought I should know. Finally, I guess he had enough. Shut up. Keep your mouth shut. Unless I ask you a question, shut the heck up. Malicious compliance mode on. I say nothing for the rest of the day. At the end of the day, I clock out and go home. I come back the next day and the tech hands me a list of things to do. I look at the list and have no idea what some of these things were. I go to ask a question, but remember, I was told to shut up. So I go along my merry way. I do the items I can and cross them off the list. A few hours later I come back and he's working inside another panel. I notice that on the load side of the contactor he's working on, the wire didn't make it all the way into the lug. A few stray strands were sticking out to the point of touching the terminal next to it. I remember I was told to shut up unless asked a question. So I stand back, way back. The tech flips the breaker on and goes to flip the disconnect on. I guess I'm kind to dumb animals because right before he throws the disconnect I slam the panel cover shut, just in time to cover the light show behind the panel. What the heck happened? You didn't put the wires in cleanly. Why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask me to. The next story is called Just Dig There. Way back when, I was working for a small company that was a mixture of contract and retail floristry and landscaping. One of our clients was a large local conferencing hotel. We started off by supplying them with flowers for the corporate clients and then their main points of customer contact. And finally, the boss talked them into letting us work on the grounds as well. After a few years of this very profitable arrangement, they asked us to help with the installation of a new CCTV system. Specifically, they wanted the other boss, it was a partnership, to use his mini digger to create the trenches for the cables. We were fine with this, boss 2 loved using his little digger. Who doesn't? And boss 1 would accrue more prestige within the hotel. However, because they weren't stupid, both bosses wanted the okay of the hotel's telco that the planned route was safe. They definitely would not involve themselves in putting the digger bucket through the hotel's main trunk. This was agreed upon. Then we came to try to get the okay. Said telco, known affectionately as brainless tosspots by those who had to deal with them, did in fact have a service for just this eventuality. What they didn't do was provide staff to answer the phone. After a week or so of trying, we still had only a vague idea of where the trunk was. And so boss 2 was reluctant to put the digger to turf. Boss 1 was fielding calls from the purchasing manager, the front of house manager, the deputy manager and finally the general manager. All of whom had been getting crap from the hotel's owner. Boss 1 was polite but firm with them all, pointing out that delaying the installation of the CCTV was solely less disruptive than cutting off all communications into and out of the conferencing hotel. The 4 managers agreed with him, the owners didn't. Finally, boss 1 said that he would tell boss 2 to start digging, only on a receipt of a written order to do so that also absolves the company of any and all resulting damages. The fax machine whirred into life. I said that this was way back when. Boss 1 called boss 2, and boss 2 started work. Within 5 minutes the hotel had lost all communications. On a Friday afternoon, the peak time for getting last-minute booking requests from people with a money-to-cents ratio I can only dream of. The hotel also worked with insurance companies. They had a number of apartments that were hideously expensive, but were also popular when it came to housing people who had house fires and the like. Of course, they tried to deflect this. We showed the owners their written instructions, which was nice. When the telco got involved, they also tried to blame us. We pointed out that if they had provided their service as advertised, we had known where not to dig. We did not end up on the hook for the damaged telephone trunk or the hotel's lost sales. Sadly, I was not privy to the arrangement reached between the hotel and the telco, but I did notice a reduction in quotes for any hard landscaping work at the hotel. If someone is looking out for your best interests and they ask for your repeated instructions in writing, have a think about what you're demanding. The third story is called Clean It. This happened in my grade 12 mechanics class. The entire course revolved around removing, disassembling, fixing and then reassembling a car's engine. I was very mechanically inclined for my age, owned like 6 cars by the time I was 17. I also had experience rebuilding the same motor I was assigned to work on, a Honda D-Series. We had a group of 4, and along with myself, my group had one other super talented guy and 2 other dudes who had done their fair share of wrenching on their own time. Needless to say, we were way ahead of schedule and my shop teacher was not happy about it. We had our engine out before some groups even had the exhaust disconnected. As soon as we hauled the engine out and set it down, our shop teacher told us to clean the entire engine. His reasoning was the grease and oil on the engine were unsafe and our hands could slip on it. If you've ever dealt with grease before, you know brake clean gets the stuff right off. So that's what we did. 6 cans of brake clean, 5 cans of seafoam and 2 cans of WD-40 later, that engine looked the same it did when it rolled off the assembly line. We even spread some silicone lubricant on the gaskets and oil into all the bolt holes we could to make disassembling the engine even easier. After class that day, I found myself at the auto parts store to pick up some parts for the ungodly amount of project cars I had. In the store, I see my mechanics teacher handing over 2 $100 bills to this person on the till with a bunch of cans of brake clean, WD-40, seafoam, silicone lube and penetrating oil in his basket. He left us alone after that. And we had the engine back in the car and running like a clock with 2 months left in the semester. I ended up having a beer with him and the other savvy guy in my group after we graduated. Lots of laughs about clearing his wallet out. We both bought him a 6-pack to make up for it. Haven't had that much fun turning a wrench since. Good times. The next story is called Sweet Revenge. I ran a lemonade stand at the time and I was pretty young, maybe 19 to 20. I had been working this job for quite some time now. And while there was no official manager position for the stand, that's the role I played. It was a pretty slow day, so I was the only one on the stand. My coworker was on an extended break. We often take 2 to 3 hour breaks alternating through the day. A woman that looked like the original Karen meme walked up to my stand to order a lemonade, followed by who I assume is her son, close in age to myself. I've made literally thousands of lemonades at this point working fairs. There's one simple recipe. And unless I'm asked prior to adjust it, which I'm happy to do, I make it per our recipe. Well, I make the lemonade and hand it to her. After one sip, Karen becomes furious. "Did you put sugar in this lemonade?" Yeah, why?" "You don't put sugar in lemonade." "Yes, ma'am, that's part of our recipe." "Well, you don't put sugar in my lemonade." "Well, if you would like one without sugar, I'm happy to make you one, but I didn't know." She cut me off. "I shouldn't have to ask. You don't put sugar in lemonade." Karen's son is in the background, mouthing apologies profusely. This is not her first rodeo. "Okay, my apologies, ma'am. Let me make you another one." I went to my cooler, where I had stored away a 1-gallon jug of pure lemon juice I had squeezed the day before from lemons that would not hold up much longer in the heat. I take a cup with some ice and fill it to the brim. No water to dilute it, straight lemon juice. I hand her the cup and watch her take a sip, even more angry. "What the hell is this?" "Give me my money back." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't do refunds for custom orders." Karen was almost yelling. "I need to speak to your manager, right now." "I am the manager. Please leave my stand." A good 5 to 10 seconds go by while she stands there incredulous and absolutely fuming before her son, trying to hold back a smile, convinces her to leave so they can go try a different stand. I still feel bad for the son to this day, as he was incredibly embarrassed over the situation and seemed like a pretty polite guy. It's beyond me how a woman with that sort of entitlement could possibly raise a son like that. The last story is called Just Following the Manager's Orders. Last year I was working at Best Buy as a mobile specialist. There's a pretty reasonable learning curve to working mobile, what with plans, devices and specialized systems of the different phone carriers. It's also worth mentioning that mobile is one of the more profitable areas of the store. So much so that Best Buy once had standalone mobile stores in malls. The store was clamping down on hours and got on you if you went over your prescribed shift. Also, if you went into overtime without telling your manager, they could remove you from the schedule and you were written up. Anyway, mobile had been shorthanded during the holidays. And that day I had only been scheduled until 6. No coverage had come in for the remaining 4 hours of the night and no manager had asked me to stay. Mobile had been pretty busy the whole day with just me at the helm. I was running 2 and even 3 activations at the same time. Well, with people still in the waiting queue to be seen, the clock struck 6. I got into the punch clock program, clocked out and walked out as scheduled. I was almost giddy. I knew I left a time bomb of soon-to-be angry customers in my wake. Those managers would have to deal with them, and no one in the store would be able to assist. But the store managers would write you up if you were over your hours without permission. And I wasn't in the mood to find one to petition and explain that mobile had no coverage. Especially since they were being stingy with my hours that week, which was my livelihood. The next day they tried wagging their fingers at me for leaving without coverage. I just brought up how the general manager and the other higher managers had clamped down on hours. And how I wasn't allowed to go over. They sort of went quiet and didn't say anything more. I learned from coworkers just how screwed they were the previous night. Apparently, mobile got slammed less than an hour after I left in addition to the waiting customers. I was simply delighted to hear that. Let's face it, they had to schedule, they had the power to see that there was no coverage and could have asked me to stay on their own. Eventually, when there were schedule gaps, they put the gaps in the morning or the mid-afternoon and not primetime evening. So the managers just learned how to better deal with the problems they created, not solve them. Sounds like a bad place to work overall. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And now have a great day. Bye bye!